Hello everybody, thanks for joining another episode of Sam's Device Advice. Today we're going to be looking at the Read and Write for Chrome extension, but we're going to be looking specifically at how to use it with PDF files. So this is a good example for when, let's say you have some old paper documents or paper worksheets that you're sharing with students. You've scanned them in on the, let's say the school scanner or the printer, and you've shared it to your students, but they have it as a PDF, so it won't open up as a Google Doc. We're going to look at how to use the Read and Write for Chrome extension to access these as well. So I have an example of a PDF here, so we're going to go ahead and try to open this. So if I double click on this, it's going to give me this preview. Now what this preview is, it doesn't really let me do anything with it. It's just showing me what the PDF looks like. What I'm going to have to do to get access to the Read and Write toolbar for this is click on this button up at the top that says Open With. If I click on Open With, you can see the different apps that would work for a PDF, and the one I'm looking for is obviously Read and Write for Chrome. When I click on this, it's going to open up the whole app for me. Now in this case, I haven't installed it yet, so let's go through this process. So it's saying please click on the Install Now button, so I'm going to do that. And you're going to see this if you've already installed the Read and Write for Chrome toolbar. It's going to then ask you to do this. Now for this case, I've actually disabled it so I could show you this, but now we've installed it. So let's go back. I'm going to go back to my Google Drive and I'm going to open it again with Read and Write for Chrome. So as always, it's asking you to sign in, so I'm going to choose my account, and then because my resolution is ridiculously large, I'm going to drag this to my other monitor and click allow. So just believe that I did that. It's there, I promise. Okay, so now it is opening up the Read and Write for Chrome PDF viewer. So along the top, you can see we have very similar tools available for us. Some of them are going to look a little new though. So obviously we have our dictionaries. So if I highlight a word, click on my dictionary, it's going to give me definitions. I also have my picture dictionary as well. The new ones that you're going to see are this click to speak button, and then my typewriter and my push pin. So to usually have this read out to you, students will tend to highlight text and then click play.
British North America in 8.
So it'll read through whatever I've highlighted. The other option is click to speak. So if I turn this on, whichever sentence I click on, it will start to read there. So for instance,
British North America in 1860.
So it thinks these two are part of the same sentence because there's no period here. As a side note, if you're familiar with Kurzweil, you have the option to customize the underlying text. You can't do that yet with Read and Write for Chrome, so you're kind of stuck with whatever you have as a PDF. That's why I tend to prefer using a Google Doc for these kind of things, but if you have this as a PDF, you use what you have. The other two new features are the typewriter and the push pin. So typewriter, let's say this is a worksheet that has blank spaces on here that I want my students to type into. What they would do is they would click on the typewriter, click somewhere on the page, and it opens up a text box for them. So then they could type in their answers, they could dictate their answers in if they want to, use the prediction tool, they could read back their answers, and they can change the size of their font as well. When they're finished, they could hit the check mark and it'll insert it. And if I want to move it around to line it up on top or underneath a line, I could use this movement button here. The other one is the push pin, which is just adding notation to different text. So let's say this is something they're doing some research on. If they click the push pin and then click somewhere on the page, it's going to give them a note. And just like the typewriter, you have the same options. But this time when I click the check mark, all it does is it leaves me with a pin. So then if I click on the pin, it will expand my note. So fairly handy, but I don't see it used all that often, to be quite honest, but it is handy if you want to get your students to use it. Now, here's a note for this. I've run into this quite a few times with teachers, that they provide this PDF to their students open it up in the Read and Write toolbar, they use it as a worksheet and use the typewriter to answer their questions, and then they close this, they look at their drive, and then they share this with their teacher. So they right-click, they share, and they type in their teacher's address here. The problem is that then the teacher goes in, opens up this, and only looks at it in this preview. So then they scroll down and they don't see any answers from their students. What's the problem is that they have to open it up in Read and Write for Chrome as well. So imagine Read and Write for Chrome's PDF viewer almost like a clear acetate sheet placed over top of the worksheet. So without opening up this reader, you're not going to see this overlay. So you only get it if you open it up in the viewer. This goes the same with printing. If I were to click down here on this print button, it will print with all of my text boxes I've added. If I'm in my Google Drive and I click print here, it's only going to print the original document, not my added notes. So you can see in the reader, it has my notes, but unfortunately, if I'm outside of that reader, it's not going to show me those anything I've written on top of it. So that's kind of the extent of the the Read and Write for Chrome PDF user. Everything else is the same. You have your screenshot reader, you have your translator, you have your highlighters. But this tends to be a big hiccup for people when they're transferring old paper worksheets to digital and they're providing them to their students. And we're going to talk about OCR in another video, which is the act of getting this text to be able to be highlighted. If you're just scanning this in on a regular copier, it's just going to take this as a picture. So the computer's not going to know that these are words yet. So thankfully, TextHelp has an app that they've created. You do have to purchase it, but you usually get it as a license with your other TextHelp apps. It's called Snapverter. So we'll look at using Snapverter to scan documents and make them readable, and we'll do that in another video. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, concerns, or suggestions for these, just send me an email, sam@samgoving.com. Thank you very much for watching, folks. Cheers.